Good evening, Himani ma'am. Dr. Swarup.
Good evening, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Dr. Swarup, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, sir. Good
Good
evening.
evening. Good evening, sir. And Mr. Arun Mohan, can we go?
Yes, sir, yes.
Yeah, please. We'll start.
Okay, good evening to all. I welcome you all to the 187th web training series of our BTAG. So now my job is to introduce our AI for uh, inviting our moderator. So let's not wait a bit. Here we go.
Dear educators, if National Education Policy 2020 is the philosophy, National Curriculum Framework is the pathway, and the mandate document is the Constitution, to champion the changing demands of the 21st century and positively impact the future. Do you have many questions on NCF? The 187th session decodes the NCF to answer your questions. Now it's my time to present my new AI, Maya, to invite the moderator.
Good evening. I hope you all are having another day in paradise. Welcome to all the exuberant educators to the 178th web training series of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya. Now I proudly present today's moderator, Ms. Himani Bakshi. Ms. Himani has a decade of experience as a teacher of English language and literature. She is a master in English literature from the prestigious Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi University. She has been actively involved in promoting holistic education and experiential learning among students. She is currently working at Modern School, New Delhi as the high school English language and literature teacher. She is also the subject coordinator of the middle and secondary wing. She has rendered her services as observer in National Achievement Survey 2021. So Himani ma'am, wholeheartedly I invite you to moderate this grand session. Please, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Arun Mohan, sir. You sound mildly indisposed. I hope you get well soon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I will.
Salam, sir. Shall I begin?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. A very good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I would like to extend my gratitude to Dr. Abdul Salam and CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex for giving me this great opportunity. I also extend a very warm welcome to all the participants. It is indeed a pleasure to have each one of you as an integral part of the webinar as we embark together on this enlightening journey of decoding National Curriculum Framework in this 187th web training series. Continuing with its plethora of endeavors, the CBSE Bharat Sahodaya community, along with today's very talented resource person, Dr. Swarup Dutta, would seek to provide valuable inputs in this session. The National Curriculum Framework, NCF in short, is India's cornerstone of the nation's education system, providing the overarching vision and guidance for what and how students should learn. As one of the world's most populous and diverse countries, India's NCF plays a pivotal role in shaping the educational experiences of millions of students across the subcontinent. In today's session, we will embark on this insightful journey of decoding the National Curriculum Framework in India, seeking to unravel its core principles, objectives, and the profound impact it wields on the country's dynamic and multifaceted education landscape. By delving into the intricacies of NCF, we shall aim to shed light on its profound significance, both in terms of molding the minds of India's youth and in catalyzing societal progress. So before we begin with today's session, there are a few things I'd like to brief you about. Switching on your device camera is optional. However, any query in the middle of the session can be conveyed through the meeting chat box. In order to have an interactive experience, you may note down your queries and ask them at the end of the session. Please click the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called out for asking your query. The participants will have the opportunity to receive certificate only after filling up the certificate and feedback form. the link for which will be shared at the end of the session. Kindly stay connected till the end of the session. At this juncture, on behalf of all of us present in the webinar, I would like to thank Dr. Salam for empowering us always with such enlightening sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Abdul Salam, who is the distinguished CBSE resource person and master trainer. Sir is the principal of Vibgyor High, Bangalore. He's also the founder of BTAG, that is Bharat Transformers Academic Group, a consortium of educators and the teaching fraternity across the globe, connecting them together to empower the nation. Sir, it is indeed our pleasure to have your gracious presence, and I would request you to take over and deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Himani ma'am. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dr. Swarup, and all educators, BTAG team, Arun Mohan, Sarida, everybody. Well, very happy to connect with Dr. Swarup again, maybe after more than a year, I think.
Yeah, almost, yeah, right.
Yeah. And this topic, why we are, holding this session, a lot of educators are asking doubts, especially with regard to this three language policy or whatever, foreign language, native language and all. So I have promised them we will be holding a session for everybody. And I think Dr. Swarup is the right person to deal with this NCF and answer your query. So I request everybody to utilize this platform, this session, to clear your concern, your doubts with regard to national curriculum framework. Let us, enrich ourselves with the information. Let's listen to Dr. Swarup Dutta. Dr. Swarup, thank you so much for readily agreeing to take this session for us. Thank you so much. All the best wishes and hearty welcome to each and everyone. Over to Himani. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. Sir, are we joined by Mr. Biju S. Pillai?
I don't think so. Let me check. Biju. Yes, he is there. He is there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, amidst us, we also have the distinguished program collaborator, Mr. Biju S. Pillai. Mr. Biju S. Pillai is a treasurer of Bharat Sahodaya. He has a vast experience in the field of education in many capacities, including being the principal of many reputed CBSE schools. Sir, we are honored to have your gracious presence. I request...
Miss Himani, yes. There is a correction. This Mr. Biju S. Pillai is not the treasurer of Bharat Sahodaya.
Yes, sir.
He is now holding a different position.
Yes, sir.
Of BTAG. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'll be mindful of that. I request Mr. Biju S. Pillai to felicitate the gathering with his kind words.
Good evening to all. Thank you, Himani Bakshi ma'am. And most respected today's resource person, Dr. Swarup Dutta sir. And our BTAG founder, Dr. Abdul Salam sir. A very good evening to each and every educator in the Bharat Transformers group platform. As our BTAG founder chairman told, we most of the principals, mostly the webinars will be focusing upon teachers empowerment or like that. But today's topic, decoding National Curriculum Framework or NCF, is equally important for all the principals and as well as all the teachers to know about the complete information regarding this new curriculum framework, which every teacher as well as all the HODs and principals should get a clear-cut idea, because quite often we are getting many doubts, many problems related to each and every area relating to this three-language formula and all. So today we will be having a wonderful opportunity to have our Swarup Dutta sir to clear almost all the doubts. So I hope today's evening will be a wonderful evening to all the educators in this BTAG platform. Over to Himani Bakshi ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we shall proceed to the highlight of today's webinar. Today amidst us, we have very talented Dr. Swarup Dutta. Dr. Swarup Dutta, MSc, B.Ed, BHMS, is the principal of MSM English School and Junior College in Malkapur, Maharashtra. He holds the prestigious role of Zonal Training Coordinator and Master Trainer for CBSE, covering Pune and Thiruvananthapuram. He is the CBSE City Coordinator for Buldhana District. He's also the founder president of the Buldhana Sahodaya School Complex and a member of the CBSE Affiliation Review Committee. Dr. Dutta also serves as an advisor for Zoom class technologies and is a mentor for the Vikram Sarabhai Science Foundation and CEIR Global. Dr. Datta's career is highlighted by becoming India's first school principal to attain the status of a Master Black Belt. He's certified Green Belt, Global Career Counselor, and a Law of Attraction Master Practitioner. His diverse expertise includes being a professional English trainer, authoring a grammar book series called Syntax. As a life and consciousness coach, Dr. Dutta provides high-quality education to rural schools in India. Dr. Swarup Datta's notable accomplishments have been celebrated on numerous prestigious platforms. Sir, on behalf of everyone present, I welcome you and request you to take over the proceedings for the evening.
Thank you so much, Himani ma'am. Good evening, everyone, all the educators. First of all, I want to extend my gratitude to Dr. Abdul Salam for giving me this opportunity to address such a group of learned educators. And today our topic is a very important one and something that is, very, very, I would say in the trend right now, the NCF, the National Curriculum Framework. After the publication of the NEP, people were desperately waiting for the NCF to come out to understand it better. And now 2 versions of NCF has come out. The first one is the NCF for the foundational stage, and the second is NCF for school education. And let me just tell you, it's a 900-page document, both the NCFs taken together. And at times it becomes quite a task for an educator to go through all the 900 pages to understand what it is all about. And you can understand that it's very difficult to give an overview of the entire thing in around 1 hour, 15 minutes maybe. But what I have done is, I have tried to make this presentation in a way that I would like to understand NCF in that way, right? So let me share my screen with you first.
Sir, it is visible?
It's visible, right? Just give
Yes,
me one
sir.
moment.
Yes, sir. Can you click on the slideshow?
Right. I hope it's now in the slideshow mode and you can see it properly, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good to go, sir.
All right. So this is the NCF 2023. And as I already mentioned, there are 2 NCFs that have been published, one for the foundation stage, the other for the school education. And the school education NCF also includes the one of the foundation stage. So a lot of things that are covered in the foundation stage, you will see a repetition of pages in the NCF for school education as well. Now, right. So National Curriculum Framework must support exactly what it is. It's a framework to help develop all the diverse curricula in the country. So any idea, how many boards are there in the country? You can put it in the chat box if you want. What is your idea? How many boards are there in India? Let me see what is your idea. Like why a curriculum framework is needed. You will get an idea only because, there are so many boards. So how many are there? What's your idea? Put it in the chat box. 3? No, it's much more than that. 5? Okay. Now I would recommend before you go into answering, Google it up. Google it up and then let me know. What does Google say? How many boards are there in the country? So I'm giving you just around 30 seconds to Google up. Five, 52, 3. Here I would pitch in a little bit. I'll let you know that there are almost 30 boards in India, 30, right? So anyway, so many boards, different boards are there, ICC, CBSE, and different state boards are there. Now, let me tell you that when there are so many boards, it becomes very important for a country like India to have a centralized structure, a skeleton, based on which the other boards can, develop their planning. So the NCF is exactly that, is the skeleton that is being provided based on which other boards can develop their curriculum. And so that it is diverse in a way, at the same time, it is grounded on a central policy. So the guidelines or suggested practice to enable quality ECC for home. So it starts from the foundation stage. And these are the terms we have already seen in NEP, early childhood care and education. And it is said that from the age group of 0 to 3, the children need to be educated at home, because we know now that the brain development of the child happens maximum till the time he or she reach 7 years age. So out of the 7 years, 3 years are spent at home. And now the Ministry of Women and Child Development, they have devised a training to train the mothers how to, educate the children back at home. And so this domain of 0 to 3 years does not fall under the school education. It's back at home. So it goes under the domain of Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now, so this is the central idea of the policy. What is the central idea? The central idea is based on a very ancient, I would say, Vedic scripture. In our ancient Vedas, and it was very prominently declared in the NEP itself, that now a lot of changes that will be brought about in the Indian education system will be based on the ancient knowledge of our country. We have spoken about the knowledge that existed in different universities that prospered during that period of time. Takshashila University, Nalanda University, the Vedic scriptures. So this NCF has attempted to bring up a few of those prominent, I would say, scriptures where certain things are mentioned very clearly regarding education, how education should be. So this is the first thing that I would like to share, that is the Panchakosha. What is Panchakosha? It is believed that the entire human body is divided in 5 different koshas or shells. And these are diverse cells starting from the Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha is the physical body. So it is said that before you start developing anything else of a child, develop the physical body of the child. So unless and until the gross motor skills, the fine motor skills, the proper health of the child is in proper place, you cannot progress to the next level. Next comes the Pranamaya Kosha. The Pranamaya Kosha is a kosha which talks about all the systems of the body. The systems of the body, as in the circulatory system, the respiratory system, all the other digestive system, all these systems should be in place. So second kosha is Pranamaya Kosha. So it is told that if you want to have a healthy child with a healthy body, next comes the healthy systems. After that, we need to develop the Manomaya Kosha of a child. What is Manomaya Kosha? Manomaya Kosha is the emotional development of a child. So emotional development is the child experiences so many emotions, anger, joy, happiness, frustration, jealousy. Lot of emotions are there. And these emotions, often the child is not taught how to handle. So it is brought about in this document that we need to teach the child how to handle different emotions. So development of the Manomaya Kosha is the third step of education of a child. The domain of socio-emotional and ethical development also is covered under Manomaya Kosha. So how the child behaves with his or her friends, neighbors, teachers, people outside the school, boundary wall. So all these things is covered under Manomaya Kosha. Now, only after the development of the Annamaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha, and the Manomaya Kosha, we bring in Vijnanmaya Kosha. What is Vijnanmaya Kosha? Vijnanmaya Kosha is the development of the intellect. Now, here, when we talk about the intellect, here we talk about the cognitive domain and, psychomotor domain and affective domain. So when we talk about the Vijnanmaya Kosha, we talk about the subjects. So even before we approach the subjects, even before we approach the curriculum, we need to make the child physically sound, his systems should be in place, and of course, the emotions. He should be able to understand how to handle what are emotions and how to handle those. The teaching starts from here, and then we bring in the subjects. And finally, the fifth kosha is the Anandamaya kosha, which is not a separate kosha altogether. It's not a separate shell. It's actually, Anandamaya kosha is the shell which is being spoken about in a way that if all the other four are functioning well, what you experience is pure bliss. So the idea of education should be to achieve pure bliss. When I have conducted the session on NEP, I already mentioned that. I conducted that on behalf of CBSE and on various platforms, that what is the purpose of education? So the purpose of education in the earlier days was understanding how salvation can be achieved. Because in those days, they were confused about the idea of birth and rebirth, what happens after life after birth, life after death. So all these things they were confused about. So they were targeting to bring about an idea, what is education, how to get salvation or moksha. Now, in the similar lines, Anandamaya kosha is achieving pure bliss when all your systems, all your functions are in perfect sync. So, when we talk about this, when we talk about outer to inner to outer, so outer to inner and inner to outer for all-round development that makes learning intrinsic. Now, today we are talking about the holistic 360-degree progress card. Now, when we talk about the holistic 360-degree progress card, it is difficult to understand the progress card without understanding the philosophy behind it. So this is what the philosophy is. So starting from the Sharirik Vikas, Pranik Vikas, Manasik Vikas, Bauddhik Vikas, and Chaitsik Vikas. So all these are physical development, development of life energy, that is all the systems, emotional and mental development, intellectual development, and then, of course, the spiritual development. So all these things come one by one. And when we are looking at a child, we should not be too engrossed with the fact that how much is the intellectual development of a child alone, because that is not what the child is. The child is much more to what is or her intellect is. So there are different aspects of a human existence, and intellect is only a part of it, not the entire individual. So when we talk about development, we need to talk about all these different layers of development. Now, this education policy, or I would say NCF also, is designed based on thoughts and philosophies of Western as well as Indian educators. Now, these are few educators that you see on the screen, based on whose ideas this NCF was designed. And you can see, along with Froebel, along with Rousseau, along with Howard Gardner, we have over there Tarabai Modak, Jijubai Badekar, Jiddu Krishnamurti, Sri Aurobindo, Swami Vivekananda, Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, Anutai Wag. So all these people, their thoughts have been taken and combined together to bring about this NCF. So this NCF is not, governed by purely Western thoughts or Western philosophy, because we are talking about an education policy and an NCF of a country called India. And India has, if you want to separate India from the rest of the world, one thing that separates India from the rest of the world is the idea of spirituality. So spirituality is not to be ignored. And, we have brought the components of spirituality in this NCF. Now, there's one more thing that we are talking about in the NCF, that is Smriti or memory. Now, after studying the Bloom's taxonomy, we very clearly infer that remembering is the lowest order of learning, right? So there are 6 levels of learning. It starts from remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and finally creating. So when we go through Bloom's taxonomy, we believe that the remembering is the lowest order, but we have to understand we are living in a country where memory forms a very core of our education system. We have epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, which has been transmitted from generation to generation only in the oral mode. So people have such huge memory, and we have a very good genetic memory, So that is the reason it is said, you can read it over here, the ancient Indian emphasis on Smriti or memory is critical to the overall development of human being. It has often been misunderstood as an emphasis only to rote learning. So Smriti is not rote learning. Current cognitive science research indicates that Smriti, both working memory and long-term memory, plays an important role in cognition as well as comprehension. Insufficient emphasis on memory often results in inadequate outcome in the classroom. So we cannot just tell, do away with rote learning, don't memorize, because without a memory, without a working memory, you cannot build up the next levels of understanding, of application. So this is very simple and important to understand. Now here, learning outcome enable teachers to plan their content, pedagogy, and assessment towards achieving specific competencies. We'll talk about the competencies a bit later on, but here I would say the NCF talks about a very important herb. This herb is called vacha. If you go through the pages of NCF, you will see, earlier NCFs I've never seen, reference to an Indian herb, but this time I can find that. So vacha is Acorus calamus lin. It's a herb which looks like this. And if you Google up in your free time, what are the advantages of vacha, you will see it has got, tremendous benefit. And one of the benefit is it helps to build memory. It helps to sharpen the memory of a child. So if you start giving vacha powder to your child, the memory of the child will be, increased. And this is in lines of another Ayurvedic herb. And I believe Kerala is the hub of Ayurveda. So you're pretty, aware of all these herbs. So Brahmi is one of the herbs. But here, apart from Brahmi, vacha is mentioned. And second thing is, vacha is also a herb that sounds like vachan. And vachan stands for speech. So if you give vacha to the child, the speech of the child becomes clear. So speech of the child becomes clear. He learns to speak faster. His memory becomes clear. And then he has his immunity, all the other functions. You can see numerous benefits of vacha, which has also been mentioned in this national curriculum framework. Now, this is something that I love about NCF. It talks about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. What is that? Because now we are not in a spiritual class, of course, but NCF mentions about this cycle of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Now, why is that? Because, we don't want to produce educated Frankensteins. People who are educated without a value system, they're no, better than a Frankenstein. And Frankenstein was a demon that was created. So we do not want to create demons, right? We do not want to create doctors who sells kidneys. We do not want to create engineers who build a bridge in a way that it will fall down in a few years' time. So we need to understand and start focusing on the value system of the child. Now, what is dharma? Dharma does not mean religion. Dharma basically means, what is righteous and what is not righteous. Righteousness, that is dharma. So we need to give an idea of righteousness to the child, that what is good and what is not good. Unless the child has that idea, the next step that comes in, artha. Artha is the knowledge of money, finance. We all come to the education sector because in a particular way, we all want to earn money. So whether it's a business family, whether it's a job-oriented family, they send their children to the school to earn money. And education, one of the goals of education, of course, is to earn a livelihood. But then earning a livelihood without having a righteousness knowledge leads to, an educated monster, as I said. So artha, before we give the knowledge to the child, how to earn money, we need to teach them what is the right way of earning money and what is not. So after dharma, when you learn how to earn money, then you are earning money in a rightful way. After that, when you earn money in a rightful way, then what happens after you earn the money? After you earn the money, you need to spend it. So how to spend that money? So kama is the desire. So when we have children who are in school, in colleges, if you ask them, if you get crores of rupees, how will you spend it? You will see the mentality of their spending, how they want to spend the money that they earn. And there you will find that their spending is also directed towards a very selfish, materialistic way. So when we have the knowledge of dharma, then the knowledge of artha, and then we have the kama, that is what is righteousness in desire, how to have a good desire. So when you have a good desire, you become people like Ratan Tata. You become a businessman, you know how to earn money, but then you know how to earn money and how to spend it. Ratan Tata can be definitely one of the richest person of India, but he's not in the list of the richest person because he does a lot of charity. So this knowledge has to be given to the children that, you can earn a lot of money, but then what to do with the money? So only when you learn dharma and then you learn artha, then you learn kama, you know how to earn money and how to spend it in a rational way. And then you get moksha, or you get the salvation, or you become joyful. So today we have got so many children. I'm pretty sure you're aware of this, and you face it every day. Indiscipline issues in the schools are rising. Immoral activities are all around. If you open any, your mobile, you go to any reel, you see how youngsters are, exposing their bodies, doing different things just to get a few likes and earn money. That is what the society is going towards, going towards a steady destruction. So without the education system, without the teachers boosting up the value system of the children, things are not going to be the same. You will have a lot of people who are literate, a lot of people who are educated in the literal sense, but not truly educated. So this cycle is to be very clearly remembered, and all these four components of dharma, artha, kama, moksha has to be related to your learning outcomes as well. So when we talk about learning outcome, we talk about mathematics. When we give a sum of percentage, we cannot tell that if a person mixes milk with water, what profit he will earn. That's a wrong way of earning profit. So I hope you understood what I'm talking about. So when you're giving examples to the children, it should be an example based on, righteousness. Similarly, when we talk about a topic, we need to understand what the child can do with the topic. What is the desire? You'll earn money. You learn, let's say a chapter, let's say light, sound. How this chapter can impact your earning of the money. At the same time, what can you do with the knowledge of sound or light? What can be your karma? What can be your desire to use that knowledge, and how to use that knowledge that you can earn money as well, or you can do it for the benefit of the society. So when we equate everything with dharma, kama, artha, moksha, then the education becomes more meaningful. Now the NCF for foundation stage talks about two terms, Vidya Pravesh and Bal Vatika. Now, when we were filling up this OSS form, we have seen this time CBSE has given the link for Bal Vatika, which is the pre-primary, nursery, KG1 and KG2. So Bal Vatika is, NEP states that prior to the age of 5 years, every child will move to a preparatory class called Bal Vatika, that is before class 1. So it comes to UKG, LKG and nursery, which has an ECCE qualified teacher. So early childhood care and education, this qualified teacher is what? There will be two courses that will be designed and rolled out. One will be ECCE, a certificate course. The other will be a diploma course, 6 months and 1 year courses. And Vidya Pravesh is when the child enters grade 1, for the first 3 months, 4 hours a day, the curriculum will be transacted in a way which will be a shift from play to, learning, more formal learning. So this shift and making the child school ready. So Vidya Pravesh has a target. That target is to make this child school ready. So preschool to school, that transition is often, it has a big gap. So Vidya Pravesh is designed or going to be designed in a way which bridges that gap. Now, the NCF talks about these 3 important components: joy, choice, and wonder. So what is joy, choice, and wonder? Children learn when they are in a joyful mood, when they are given choices, and when there is something that they can wonder about, right? So you must have seen that when you come home after, a tour, or you have visited a place, you've gone to the market, you come back home, the small child of the house runs to you and asks, what have you brought for me? So that is what a child is designed, hardwired like that. The child needs to understand what has been brought for him. So when a teacher goes to the class, it's very important that the teacher carries something that brings, a wonder. Child looks at the thing with wonder. Ye kya laya? What is this? And joy is, again, happiness. We need to understand that without having a child who is joyful in class, learning cannot happen. So these are the 3 things that every teacher needs to understand. And when we go for teachers training, we need to tell them that do not forget these 3 components when you are transacting with the curriculum. Don't be so engrossed with the learning and the learning outcomes that you forget joy, choice, and wonder. Every class, every class. It's not like once in a week you do it. Every class you need to understand that there has to be something that brings joy, a smile on the child's face, something that the child can choose from. Now, when I talk about choice, let me also tell you, it opens up another very big domain, that is of differentiated instructions. Differentiated instruction is providing choice to the child. Every child is not same in the class. So the content, the transaction of that content, and the result, all these three things has to be varied, and it has to be differentiated. So that is what differentiated instruction is all about. Though differentiated instruction itself is a one-day training or a two-day training that I conduct. So I just wanted to give you a brief idea about differentiated instruction, that when the teacher walks from the podium and goes into the rows and columns of the children, he or she is differentiating instructions. When the teacher becomes a guide at the side instead of a sage on the stage, the teacher is differentiating instructions. When the teacher gives choices to the child, the teacher is differentiating instructions. So do not forget the choice factor, because here the differentiated instruction comes into play, which is, the core of modern education. And of course, as I said, wonder, something that will amaze the child, because only amazing the child will help the child, question. When I'm amazed, what is that? My question immediately comes, what is that? So when we talk about that wonder, the question starts coming up. What is that? How it works? What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? So all these questions comes up only when there is a wonder factor. When the wonder factor is taken away, there are no questions. There is no desire to learn. So joy, choice, and wonder is very, very important. Next, while playing, there are these few things that we need to keep in our minds. So what are these things? Make a plan and follow through. So we are talking about play-based education, experiential learning, hands-on learning. So in this, play becomes a very important factor because children love to play. When we talk about homework, new term that has been coined for homework is home play. So people are now talking about not telling it homework, because work gives an idea that I have to do something which people don't want to do, children don't love doing. So work and hard work, all these terms are to be disposed of. Because the moment we say hard work, the thing becomes hard. And the moment we have in our subconscious mind it is hard, we don't want to do it. So it should be like a play. So every education activity should be like a play. So home play. So, and in the classroom, whatever is happening is a game, it's a play. So play-based pedagogy, toy-based pedagogy is being spoken about. That is the only reason. Because children have a very basic, tendency, that is to play. So when we are playing, what needs to be kept in mind? Make a plan and then follow through. So for example, if I want to draw my home and family, what will it look like? And who all should I include in the picture? So these type of questions should come in the child's mind. Then learn from trial and error using imagination and problem solving. For example, the child is building a tower and with plastic blocks. So now he thinks that maybe I need to put a few more blocks at the base so that my tower doesn't fall. So how this learning happens? This learning happens because of trial and error. Then apply concepts of quantity, science, and movement to real life. I want to dig a tunnel in the sandpit. Maybe I need to wet the sand. So these are the learning that children get when they are digging a tunnel in the sandpit. That the sandpit is not working. The sand you are digging, it's not forming a particular shape. So only when the sand is being wet, that time the shape can be formed. So apply the concepts like this. Reason in a logical and analytical manner. So solving picture puzzles is one of the example. Putting the blocks and pieces together. So this is how the logical thinking works. After that, communicate with friends, interact with them, negotiate differences in points of view. Now here, communication is one of the 21st century skills. So when we talk about communication as a 21st century skill, the child needs to understand how to communicate with people around him or her. And they have to negotiate at times. This time I want to play the doctor. Maybe next time you could play this role. So right now I want to play, next time I'll give you the chance. So that is negotiation. That is how we learn how to frame win-win situations. And in the days to come, when the child will become a professional, he or she has to work out or work around a lot of solutions that are going to be win-win. It cannot happen all of a sudden after passing out in the school. So that is the reason why we say India produces a lot of educated children, but not job-ready children. So these job-ready, 21st century skills need to be given in the school itself. Next is derive satisfaction from work or accomplishment. I completed this sand castle together with my friend. So that sense of accomplishment will help the child move forward. So you need to have boards in the classroom, appreciation trees in the classroom that will make the child visibly find out how he or she is being appreciated, because appreciation can really move mountains. And then be creative. When I mix red and blue paint, it becomes purple. What will happen if I mix green and blue paint? So let them experiment. This is the next way, how to gain knowledge in a playway method. So this is learning by playing and how to play. Now, there are 3 stages of play that has been mentioned in the NCF. The first is called free play. The second is called guided play. The third is called structured play. So what is free play? Free play is child-led and child-directed. Everything the child is doing. Now, I'm not going deep into each of these points to save some time, but I hope you understand it. And if in case you do not understand, we can clear the doubts in the question answer session. So child-led and child-directed is free play. Child-led and teacher-supported is guided play. And structured play is teacher-led and children actively participate. So we need to focus and make the transition from teacher-led play to child-led play. That is how we are supposed to go. And you must have seen that when you go out after school hours and you used to play in your school days, you love to play at your home. Why? Because that was a free play, unguided play. No one was there to tell you something. So that free play has a lot of impact. And in those sessions of free play, the child gets the qualities of leadership, negotiation, team spirit. All these things come up in the free play sessions. But there are certain things that need to be started with teacher-led activities and then slowly guided and then free play. Now, what type of plays are being mentioned in the NCF? There are around 5 types of games that are being spoken about, and these are to be included in the classrooms. One is dramatic play or fantasy play, like use a small stick for a horse to dramatize a story. Acting like family members, teachers, doctors. So this is dramatization. Next is exploratory play. Jodo, todo, fir jodo. So that is build it up, break it, again build it up. So dismantling and assembling objects like clocks, toilet flush, tricycles, everything, Experiments with instruments like magnets, prisms, magnifying glasses, mixing dals or pulses and sorting it out. Sand play, water play. This comes in exploratory play. Number 3 is environmental or small world play. Small world play is miniature, miniature kitchen set, miniature doctor set, miniature animal set. So that gives a different dimension of a game, and that is miniature world play. Physical play, exploring body through music, movement, dramatization, outdoor play, balancing games, and etc. So being aware of the body through different games, right? Then games with rules. And in physical play, you have these songs like, if you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, clap your hands. So when you clap your hands, you know that these are my hands I'm clapping. And this is called a clap. So that is a physical play. And games with rules like hopscotch, kit-kit, snake and ladder, spinning tops, marbles. Now, why are we talking about these things? Because these are Indian games and Indian toys which are becoming obsolete. People are going into, GTA City and all these video games, and they are forgetting our own games that for centuries we have been playing. So this is something that we need to do. We need to promote Indian games in our classrooms. Now, the next thing that NCF is talking about is gradual release of responsibility of a teacher. The greatest misconception of a teacher that is, if I do not teach, no one can learn. That is where the teachers try to talk more. The teachers try to, I would say, dominate the class. 80%, 90% time is the teacher talk time. Now, what is being spoken over here? The teacher responsibility, it starts with teacher explains model and strategy. And you start with, I do it, you watch. That's the first step. The second step is collaborative. We do it together. Third is the guided practice. You do it, I will watch whether you're doing it properly or not. And independent practice, you do it alone. So we have to move from I do it, you watch, to you do it alone. When we go to that level of you do it alone, that is real education happening in the classrooms. So gradual release of responsibility is very clearly highlighted in the NCF. It is called GRR, gradual release of responsibility. Teacher's responsibility has to become minimum, and the child needs to be more responsible, because the ultimate objective of education is making the child responsible, right? And I remember in 2014 when Narendra Modi ji visited Japan, he came back and said that he observed over there that less teaching is happening, so more learning is happening. So moment you go for less teaching, more learning happens. So how it happens? When we slowly release our responsibility and give it to the child. GRR. Next. Now, this is, again, very, very important. This is how the entire NCF, the bulk of the NCF is formed with this structure. So you need to understand the structure very clearly. I will not go deep into each subject because that will, take a lot of time. But I'll tell you how to look at the NCF, pages after pages that you see. You will instantly now understand what the NCF is all about once you understand this structure. So the first structure is NCF talks about aims of education. So when we talk about aims of education, it's a very broad aim that we are talking about. Now, moment we talk about aim of education, it is boiled down to curricular goals. When we're talking about national curriculum framework, the curricular goals need to be there. Now, curricular goals are also very, very abstract, not defined well. So we need to understand the curricular goals better when we, bring it down from curricular goals to competencies. Competencies are skills that children are expected to learn in the class, in the school. So competencies is something we have heard about competency-based education. In fact, in the CBSE academic website, CBE is one of the, or competency-based education is one of the prominent tabs. A lot of content is being, poured in over there on a daily basis. So competencies are skills that the child imbibes from a particular lesson. And then competencies, again, to get a skill, it does not happen in a day. So skills will be developed over a period of time. So to develop the skill, you need to take one step at a time. And this one step at a time is the learning outcome. So for each class, you will have a learning outcome because you want to get a competency. And that competency you're trying to achieve because you have a curricular goal. And that curricular goal is there because you have a greater goal of education. So this is how the entire NCF has been brought down from the aims of the education to the learning outcomes. Now I'll show you a few things that you can see on the screen. Here you see over here, domains. So what are the domains and what are the curricular goals? So first thing is we have got physical domain, socio-emotional domain, cognitive development, language and literacy, aesthetic and cultural development. So these are the, 5 very prominent domains. Now these domains you can see is mapped with curricular goals. So for example, physical development, curricular goal 1 is children develop habits that keep them healthy and safe. Number 2 is children develop sharpness in sensorial perceptions. 3 is children develop a fit and flexible body. So these 3 are curricular goals aligned to the physical development. Now what we do with the curricular goals? As I mentioned earlier, curricular goals now have to be boiled down to competencies. So let's go to the next page. Curricular goals to competencies. So we have the first curricular goal. Children develop habits that keep them healthy and safe. Remember this first point, children develop habits that keep them healthy and safe. So this is the first curricular goal we are talking about. And you see, aligned to this curricular goal, there are 6 competencies that can be developed. The first one is show a liking for and understanding of nutritious food and does not waste food. So you see, it's a skill straight away. It's an action that we are talking about. So all the competencies that we are written in terms of action verbs, something that the child will be able to do. So understanding, remembering, something that you cannot see as a teacher should not be used as a term in the defining of a competency. Competence is something that will be defined more tangibly, something that you can physically see, objectively see, right? So second one, practices basic self-care and hygiene. So whether the child is practicing, that's a skill. We can see it. It's not whether the child understood what is basic, hygiene and care or not. So it's not about understanding, it's bringing in action. So this is competency. Now what we talked about, after the competency, we will have learning outcomes. So see, this is again a domain, socio-emotional and ethical development. Curricular goal is there and competencies are mapped over here. After the competencies will boil down to learning outcome. Now, when we talk about learning outcome, you can see over here, we have taken up a competency like differentiates between shapes, colors, and their shades. C2.1. So we'll go back now. C2. So this was curricular goal 2. Children develop sharpness in sensorial perception. C2.1 was differentiates between shapes, colors, and their shades. Now, when we bring that into learning outcome, we have different levels. Now, see the levels. The first one is differentiates and names the primary colors, red, blue, yellow, and other common colors in their environment. That is black, white, and brown. The next level is differentiates shades within primary color. Am I audible? All right, thank you. So differentiates shades within primary colors like, light blue, light green, dark green. That's the next level. Third is attempts to predict resulting colors when two colors are mixed. Blue is mixed with yellow, makes it green. Red with white makes it pink. The next level is predict resulting colors when two colors are mixed. The child is able to predict. Here he is attempting. He is predicting over here. And the final one is experiments and uses color in art forms, drawings, decorating, and display. So see how a smooth transition is happening from this level to this level. And this is how you differentiate instructions. When you make a lesson plan now, you have a multi-level lesson plan. You cannot have a lesson plan with one single learning outcome because children are not all the same. There are children who are beginners. There are children who are proficient. There are children who are advanced. So when we are talking about a child who does not recognize a primary color, it is very, very impractical to tell the child to predict what happens when you mix two colors. So for that child, the learning outcome will be the first one. But a child who is already aware of the primary colors, the learning outcome can be the third one or the fourth one. Now, when we have a differentiated learning outcome, teacher has a very clear-cut goal set in front of him or her. That yes, in the class, we have got these three types of children. We can broadly categorize in three types. Ones who are beginners, ones who are, progressing, the others are proficient or advanced. So when we have these three levels, the learning outcomes can be varied, the activities can be varied, the assessment can be varied. And that is how differentiated instructions happen. So this document is a very helpful document in understanding the different levels of learning and put that in the learning outcomes of children. So now I think you are very clear about how the educational objectives or goals has been brought down into this curricular goals into competencies into learning outcomes. Now, NCF approach to language. This is what I think most of you had the questions when introduction was being given. People were talking about languages. Now, if you see NCF, language has been referred to in two different ways, L1 and R1, L2 and R2, L3 and R3. Now, what is this L1, L2, L3? And what is this R1, R2, R3? In a very simple way, I will explain this. L1 is, as you can see over here, since children learn concepts most rapidly and deeply in their home language, the primary medium of instruction would optimally be child's home language or mother tongue or familiar language, also referred to as L1. So L1 is basically the language in which the child learns to talk and the first language the child hears. So the first language with which the child becomes familiar to is L1. The second language with which the child becomes familiar with is the L2. And the third language with which the child becomes familiar with is the L3. So these are L1, L2, and L3. And it is very clearly said that, you are trying to build a house, a 4-story building. And then after building 3 stories, you dismantle it and start building it all over. It doesn't make any sense, right? So the child from 0 to 3 years is learning a language. He has learned that this is called, darwaza. This is called khirki. And then all of a sudden you say, no, call it a door. Sorry, that's a window. And now the child becomes confused. Are ye to darwaza, how it becomes a door? This was a billi, how it becomes a cat. So when the child, and the child is again, reprimanded. Don't use, your mother tongue. Use English. So when that happens, it is almost like building a house, dismantling it, and telling it to be built all over. So this is what NCF is talking about, that start building the house in such a way that, it continues. So L1 is to be continued from home to school. And what is R1? R1, R2, R3 are the languages in which the child learns to read and write. So the first language the child learns to read and write is the R1. So R1 and L1 can be very similar or same. or it can be different. But ideally, if it is same, it is advantageous to the child. Now, in the 4 stages of learning trajectory, there are 4 levels. So what are these 4 levels? The first one is a beginner. The second one is progressing. Third one is proficient. And fourth one is advanced. And as you can see that a beginner tries to achieve learning outcome, whereas an advanced one achieves the learning outcomes and helps support others to achieve the learning outcomes as well. So help support others to achieve the learning outcome. The philosophy of each one, teach one, which APJ Abdul Kalam started, that is the advanced level of learning, right? So in between, there is a progressing and proficient level as well. So when we divide, every child is given a target right now, where you are right now and where you want to be. So unless that visibility is there, only the marks are not suggestive of anything. If you give the marks, it doesn't mean anything to the child. But when the child knows that it's like a video game, I'm in the beginner level right now, I'm in the progressing level right now, I'm in the proficient level, advanced level. So these terms are coined with the thought process of video games. Children are playing video games, so they will understand, and everyone wants to improve the level. You give a video game to the child, he's in the beginner level, he will try to go to the advanced level. So that is what competency-based education is also talking about, that every child will take an assessment. Assessment as learning that is what it is. Assessment of learning to assessment for learning and assessment as learning. That shift is going to happen when you categorize, when you give levels, so that I know what level I'm in and what level I want to go to. The next one is this R1, R2, R3. As I said, the first reading and writing purpose language is the R1. So we define R1 to be the language in which the child first learns the concepts of reading and writing. So, in English medium schools, it's often English. Now, there is a big question and debate going on. Do we do away with this English medium school concept and bring it to, vernacular medium where the child learns in that vernacular medium? There are opinions, but NCF is strongly recommending, educators are strongly recommending that use the mother tongue or the home language as the L1 and R1, and then slowly go to, with the foundation of L1, build on to R2, with the foundation of R2 and R3 can go on, like more languages can be learned. But the basic thing of learning a language should be the L1 or R1. Now, principles of pedagogy that has been talked about in the NCF: safe and stimulating environment. Play is central to learning. That's the reason I was giving so much emphasis on different types of play. Relationship between student and teacher, very important. This is how the joy and wonder factor will come in. And, I would like to share a story with this, regarding this student and teacher. It's a story about the great C.V. Raman sir. So much after C.V. Raman sir has won the Nobel Prize, he was driving on the roads of Chennai one day, and all of a sudden he parked his car near a lamppost. He got down from his car and started picking up something from the floor. Now, one of his students, who was a student earlier, now that student has also become a professor, he was also passing through the same way and found C.V. Raman picking up something from the ground. Now, when he saw that, he immediately thought that probably the old man has dropped his wallet or something. He came down from his car and tried to rush towards his professor. And C.V. Raman stopped him. Don't come this way. No, sir, I just want to help you. No, if you want to help me, come the other way. He showed and pointed out toward the roundabout way of the lamppost. So when he came, he saw that C.V. Raman was picking up small wings of fireflies that come towards the evening and, flock the lamppost. So he said, sir, what are you doing? Why are you picking up those wings? He said, don't talk. If you want to help, pick it up. So the student saw that, Nobel Prize is one thing, but after 60 people lose it anyway. So probably the old man has stepped into that 60 domain. So he picked up wings for him as well. But after the collection of around 50 to 100 wings, C.V. Raman said, okay, you can go now. But sir, I wanted to know what exactly are you doing? Why are you picking it up? No, tomorrow I have a class in a government school and I'm going to teach them diffraction. So when I'm going to teach them diffraction, the diffraction grating is not there. I'll give each child a wing of this firefly, and then how I'm going to teach them how the light breaks and bends. Now think about this. A person like C.V. Raman, much after winning the Nobel Prize, after achieving everything in his life, going to an off class, which is not even a regular class for him, invited lecture, if he takes so much preparation for that class to make the children amazed and that joy, choice, and wonder, don't you think you and me, who are professional educators, teachers, we need to prepare ourselves better? So this is, again, relationship between teacher and student will only improve, not only by mere talking, but when you think about the children in this way. Physical development is very important. We talked about the, this Annamaya Kosha. Every child learns at their own pace. This is something that we need to understand. So that is the reason these 4 grades have been put, the beginner, the progressing, the proficient, and the advanced. So when we understand, we know that it's okay. When we have our children, we know that every child, the teething will not happen in that month. For some, it will be early. For some, it will be a little late. And we are okay with that. So why we are not okay with the same thing happening in school? That the child is definitely going to learn. Maybe the pace is a little different. So we do not make an issue when a child is not learning to speak. Yes, some mothers definitely make it an issue, but they need to understand, and doctors tell, don't worry, the child will learn. So similar way, when the teeth comes out, the child learns how to speak, the child will learn the subject matter as well. Only his pace is different. Most comfortable and learn best. Sorry, this is most comfortable and learn best in their home language. So the children are most comfortable and learn best in home language. So L1 is going to be the home language. Learning is deeply connected to child's life context. So until I went into my classrooms and I talk with my children, I tell them, when the teacher comes in, before the lesson starts, please ask your teacher why I need to learn this lesson, why I need to learn this, a surface area of a cylinder or the area of a square or light. Please ask the question to the teacher. If you do not get the answer, don't learn. So this type of mentality should be developed in the children, that they should learn what has a purpose, how it is going to be impacting their real life. Learning building on the child's previous understanding. So it's again a very simple philosophy of education, that is known to unknown, right? And classroom process address all domains. So all domains are cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and affective domain. So cognitive domain is something that to do with the head, the psychomotor domain is something to do with the hand, and affective domain is something to do with the heart. So the same Gandhian philosophy of education, head, and heart, comes into play over here. Now, this is again a very interesting thing that NCF talks about, which is taken from the ancient scriptures. It's called Panchhari. Panchhari is a good guide to formulating the sequence that teacher may adopt in planning for instruction. So this helps in lesson planning. So what is Panchhari? This is a 5-step formula. Aditi, so start with introduction. Bodh, go for conceptual understanding. Abhyas, go for practice. Prayog, apply it to real life. Prasar, expansion, teach it to another person. So this is how it should go. As we learned earlier, the advanced learners are the ones who will help others to learn. So this journey from introduction to conceptual understanding, to practice, to application and expansion is how the teacher should be planning the lesson, keeping this in the background in the mind. Building positive relationship with children. This is also a point that I mentioned just a moment ago. I have intentionally put this picture of this movie. Any idea which movie is this? Put it in the chat box. Let me see if I've identified the movie. Which movie is this? Yes, Tare Zameen Par. Very rightly said. It's not 3 Idiots. It's Tare Zameen Par. So Tare Zameen Par is a movie in which Amir Khan acted. It was about a dyslexic child. And this dyslexic child could not be identified as a case of dyslexia. Only Amir Khan, by building relationship with the family, by building relationship with the child, identified, took the child in confidence, and a transformation happened to that child. From an absolute backbencher to not learning anything, not able to read and write, the child becomes the face of the school diary. So what you need to do this, you need to know every child individually. Listen to the children, observe children, encourage children, intuitional responses. So how the child intuitionally respond, you have to understand that. Recognize and respond to emotions and moods of children, visiting their homes regularly. This is not happening. Visiting to the homes used to happen earlier. Now, when that used to happen, the relationship between a teacher and a student was entirely different. And right now you have teachers who are scared of parents. Teachers who are afraid saving their own, self. खुद बच जाओ बाबा, parents आके झगड़ा ना करे, parent कुछ blame ना करे. So now the teachers' focus is not in teaching but in safeguarding oneself, and real education cannot happen in that environment. Of course, the politicians have played a very crucial role to make this relationship sour, I would say, by provocating the parents and instigating them to come to the schools and demonstrate. But this has to stop, and it will only stop when you have a direct relationship with the family. If the relationship between you and the parent is through a media and a third person, it will never work. Strategies of teaching is again listening, modeling, solving problems, questioning, provoking, researching, making children independent, GRR. So all these things that we have learned, micro teaching in B.Ed, that has to be used. Probing questions, explaining, demonstrating, illustrations, listening, modeling. So all these things are different steps that we need to use. Learning through conversations, stories, toys, music, art, and craft. So sport-based pedagogy, toy integrated pedagogy, dramatics integrated pedagogy, all these things have to be, teachers have to be trained on that, and this has to be practiced in the class. Now, sometimes the teacher says, where is the time? We do not have the time to do all these things because the syllabus is so huge. Now, let me tell you here that syllabus is being reduced right now because NCERT already is reducing 30% of the syllabus. You are well aware of it. And this 30% reduction was done with an objective that you can bring in these practices in the classroom. And it's also very important to understand that transaction of the lesson at a faster pace will really not help anything. If you really want to drive that concept, that competence in a child, it has to be through this mode. So toy-based pedagogy, sport-based pedagogy, maybe you cannot use it in every period, but horses for courses. In whatever way you can bring dramatization, in whatever way you want to bring storytelling, you can bring it. For example, right now I'm conducting a session on NCF. You saw just a moment ago, I brought in a story. It really fit in well over there, right? So this is how the teacher is expected to do. Bring in stories where it fits in well, bring in a toy where it fits in well, walk in with a teaching aid. If you bring a teaching aid and keep on your teacher's table, don't use it. Just check it out what happens. Don't use that teaching aid. I guarantee you, towards the end of that period, one child at least will ask you, what was that you kept on the table? So think about it, that if a teacher is bringing a teaching aid, not using it, can bring so much curiosity in the child, what will happen if you use it? Then you can have games like this, Fire in the Mountain, Run, Run, Run. So these games are very, very important. This includes teamwork, listening skills. Then there is another game that I would refer to, that is Simon Says. Simon Says is a game where you say, Simon says, then only you do the thing. If Simon does not say that, don't do it. So there the listening skill of the child will improve. And you must have seen this after COVID, the listening skills of the children have really gone down. They don't listen because earlier they have practiced 2 years, keeping the laptop on, teacher's voice is coming to their ears, they're doing something else. And that is now happening in the real classes as well. Teacher's voice is coming to the ears, they're thinking something else because it's a 2-year practice they have done. They have opened the laptop and not studied. So many of the children are in that mode. So these type of games will bring about the listening activity of the child as well. Very important thing that I would refer to, mentioned in NCF, is Shinrin Yoku. Shinrin Yoku is taken from a Japanese concept. Shinrin means forest, Yoku means bath. Take the children to a forest, a wood, and let them play over there. Let them feel with their bare feet how the grass feels like, how the wood feels like, how leaves smell, how moist soil smells like. That is going to develop the brain. The brain development is not going to happen by reading the books, by reading the learning outcomes. This is also a part of the learning outcome, where the sensorial perception of the child is improved. When the brain is improved, the brain can absorb better and learning can definitely be much better. So these type of practices are not to be ignored, that it's a waste of time. So components of a teaching plan, again, as I said, it's a elaboration of what I just mentioned. I'm not going to cover this in detail to save time, but competencies and learning outcomes and lesson objectives should be very, very vital. Duration and sequence of activities should be planned, games should be planned, and it should be differentiated. 4-block approach for literacy mentioned in NCF. This is especially in reference to languages. Language L1, L2, L3. Now, what are the 4 blocks? The first block is oral language development, like picture conversation, sharing experiences, storytelling, drama, and role play. After this, you come for word recognition. In word recognition, you have phonological awareness, activities, letter recognition, sound symbol association, sound symbol, A. So this is a symbol, it sounds A. And when we make a word, it sounds A. So that linking is going to happen in word recognition. Next comes reading. So when you are through with the word recognition, reading aloud, shared reading, guided reading, and independent reading. Now here I would like to mention about a manual that every teacher should have in his or her mobile. That is the Nipun document, National Initiative for Proficiency of Reading with Understanding and Numeracy. So Nipun is a document that every teacher should, at least go through once, and it talks about how reading activities have to be conducted in the classrooms. And of course, after reading comes writing, where it's model writing, shared writing, guided writing, and ultimately independent writing. Similarly, when we talk about numeracy, this is the ELPS that NCF talks about. What is ELPS? ELPS is experience, learning the mathematical concept of concrete objects, like counting concrete objects for learning numbers. Don't put one on the board first and teach the child this is one. Bring in a ball, this is one. Bring in two balls, these are two. So when we talk about concrete objects, the child will be learning better. The second thing is spoken language. Describe the experience in language. What is being counted? How many have been counted? So we are counting balls. This is one ball. This is two balls. These are three balls. So that brings a little bit of concrete idea in the child, because maths is scary because most of the child could not, frame in their mind what that number is all about. Then comes the picture, representing mathematical concept in pictorial form. For example, three balls, you can put it on the board and, and show the pictures over there. And finally, the written symbols, that is the mathematical number. So you see how late the mathematical symbols are being introduced. It starts with experience. So blocks of teaching maths, again, there is a 4-step method mentioned over here, just like literacy. The first is oral math talk, math poems, oral calculation, concepts, children experience. You teach the children, talk about mathematical idea. What is the interest? I went to a class and asked, are you aware that your father's money is in a bank and that bank gives your father interest? Have you heard of interest? Simple interest, compound interest. Have you heard of these terms? So it starts from there. Talk about real life things that is happening. And then go to the skill teaching. Okay, you're not aware of simple interest? So this is what simple interest is. This is what compound interest is. Next comes skill practice. After that, you give them sums to practice. That this is a sum, complete this 1, 3, 5, and or 2, 4, 6. And finally, a math game. So reinforcing learning and problem solving through a game. So unless and until you bring mathematics to the level of game, children will continue to be afraid of mathematics. And you can see in our country and understand very clearly how many children appear for NEET and how many children appear for JEE. They don't appear for JEE mainly because they're afraid of maths. So most of the children prefer to choose the line, because I don't know maths, I must become a doctor. Because medical and engineering are only the Karan Arjun of Indian cinema, Indian education system. So math game, here I have a suggestion also for the schools. I have seen some very good demonstration of math games where maths Vatika or Ganit Vatika or Ganit Udyan has been built by schools, where they have demarcated a small area where they have put hands-on maths games which the children can do and learn concepts. You can Google it up and see Ganit Udyan. One is in Chandigarh, and you can see how they have built it. So, you will love and probably do it in your school as well. Now comes behavior management of the child, which NCF also talks about. Now, there are 4 different types of behavior which has been segregated. Aggressive behavior, which is hurting others, hitting, biting, pinching, throwing objects. Antisocial behavior, using inappropriate language, name calling, refusing to share. Third, disruptive behavior, like disrupting the circle time, running around in the classroom, shouting in the classroom, dropping objects, things like that, which disrupts the class. And inappropriate expressions like excessive crying, pouting, whining in the classroom. So these are the things which the teachers need to be trained to, how to handle these children. Me and Dr. Salam both attended a program of NCRT. That is where we met for the last time, where we were, adolescent behavior, we were trained on that for around 4 days. And in that, we were given a lot of, knowledge about how to stop bullying in the school. We have been shared with posters. We have conducted such sessions in our own schools. That has to spread. So bullying and, behavior of the child, that cannot be just achieved by shouting or beating a child. Because when you shout at a child, you are showing that shouting is the solution. When you beat a child, you are showing that beating is the solution. So to get his things done, the child will also shout or beat someone. So we have to make the child understand that shouting and beating or punishing is not the solution. There is a better way to do that, and that comes with proper communication. Now, teacher has to focus on voice, words, body language, and attitude. So unless these 4 things the teacher practices, the classroom will not be managed well. So what is the voice level of the teacher? Is the teacher shouting too high or too low? What are the words the teacher is using? Is he naming a child, calling him names, or he is not, doing something like that? Body language of the teacher, attitude of the teacher, this will decide the overall, behavior of the children as well. In the classroom, creating a vibrant learning corners in the classroom. So there should be vibrant learning corner. You can see the teacher is here, but there are some children doing something in the corner. So these type of dynamic corners are being suggested in the NCF. So children need to go to the classroom and, someone who has already completed a part of that work that teacher has given, go to a corner and does an advanced work over there. And this is the 4 ways of organizing the content: project-based approach, story-based approach, theme-based approach, and eclectic approach. So all these 4 type of approaches can be taken by the teacher to manage the class well. Apart from that, leveraging technology. So what is leveraging technology? Leveraging technology is there are so many platforms that has been mentioned in the NCF which the teachers are expected to use. Diksha is definitely one of them. COEs have been driving every teacher to complete the Diksha training, which has been done last year, remember? It was made mandatory, the Diksha training has to be taken. Apart from that, NDR, Vidyadan, technology for inclusive access. So this is talking about inclusive education, Divyang, and technology for parental engagement. So all these things are there. Now see how classroom should look like. This is again, I would say at a foundation level or a preparatory level, but it can be also in the secondary level in the same way. So see, A is running blackboard. So what is A? So this is a running blackboard. See the level of the running blackboard. It is at the level of the child. So the child can scribble something. You must have seen that the children love scribbling on the walls of their houses or homes. So here, if you say that one board will be there for the teacher, children cannot scribble. You are telling the child, don't write. So when you're telling the child, don't scribble, don't spoil the board, don't spoil the notebook, don't spoil the floor, you are telling the child, don't scribble and don't write. So you're feeding in the subconscious mind of the child, you are not supposed to write. And then all of a sudden, you say you are expected to write better. Your handwriting should be good. How it is going to happen? If we have promoted them, we have fed in their mind, don't write, don't scribble, then we cannot all of a sudden expect them to write better. Then B is a circle. So circle times can happen like this. C is a corner setup. Now in corner setup, there can be games, there can be puzzles, there can be books, there can be activities. D is classroom display. So this is a classroom display, which can be the learning wall. It can be, digital boards, it can be whiteboards, it can be posters. And then of course, E is portfolio bags. You see over here, a small cabinet is kept over here. And this is where the portfolio bags can be kept. And portfolios are one of the way of assessment as learning. Assessment as learning can happen only when the child looks or, introspects and finds out how he is learning. Outdoor equipment material, highly recommended to have sandpit, clay boxes, kitchen garden, outdoor play equipment. So this will help the child to, tangibly develop their senses. Next is analyzing children's response. Now here I will be revealing today, if we have some more time, the holistic progress card, which has not yet been published. So I have designed one for my own school. I'll definitely share with each one of you so that you can take a look and then you can plan according to your own ideas. But analyzing children's response, one of the key component of a holistic progress card is self-assessment form. So you can see, circle the picture that shows how you worked today. I like doing this work. Yes, no, maybe or no. So the child can, understand himself or herself with the help of self-assessment. Then these are the qualities of progress card, which was earlier this fact. The earlier progress card was like this. There was a lot of anxiety, bias, negative remarks. It was subjective, phobia attached with that. People used to get worried. Children are worried. Parents are worried. It instills fear, fright, comparison, stress. But how the holistic progress card is supposed to be? It is reinforcing comments, affective, psychomotor, and cognitive, all the domains that are addressed, clarity, precision, accuracy, appropriateness, specific, to a particular competency or domain, non-judgmental, and constructive remarks. So this is how the holistic progress card, these are the qualities. Characteristics of HPC, as I said, must reflect unbiased and non-judgmental performance. It could be in form of a grade, marks, or credits. So all these things are, you can take a look very quickly that what it is talking about. I'll not like to read it out because all of you can read it on the screen itself. So these are the qualities of a good holistic progress card, right? So I'll just give you maybe 15 seconds to go through it. Right? You can take a screenshot and have a look at this later on as well. And then we are talking about certain tools that are to be used, like anecdotal records, checklist, event sampling. Now, how does an anecdotal record differ from an event sampling? Anecdotal report is when you observe a child in different locations, how the child is in library, how the child is in the classroom, how the child is in playfield. That is anecdotal record. But what is event sampling? You take an event. 4 children are playing and something is happening over there, and how you observe all the 4 children, how they are behaving, how they are participating in the activity, and come to conclusions. For you can see over here, this column that I'm pointing at right now, I had given them a task to work in small groups of 3 or 4 and create a picture using twigs and leaves. They had to collect this from outside and then come in and finish the task. Now see the observation of the teacher in event sampling. Muthu, Chandri, Suryam, and Karthik were in one group. Karthik touched the twigs and leaves, but did not contribute towards completing the task. He ran around, disrupting other children. Chandri and Muthu cooperated with each other and created a tree model from the twigs and leaves they collected. Suryan seemed to enjoy the process, but didn't contribute much. Now, what is the interpretation? So, Muthu, Chandri, the interpretation for here, the interpretation is on the right-hand side. Karthik exhibits disruptive behavior, is not able to focus on the task, will need to work with him on this. Suryan, while not disruptive, will need support to demonstrate appropriate social behavior. Muthu and Chandri can work well in groups and complete tasks. So when you see an event, an occurrence that is happening, an activity that is going on, how the teacher observes and how the teacher infers is something as event sampling that has to be used in the schools. Artifacts, worksheets are of course a very important part of this tools of the teachers as well. Now, to develop the child, the biological process, that is the genetic configuration of the child, that the child has inherited from the parents, the brain, height, weight, etc., plays a role. Socio-emotional process, changes in individual relationship based on the changes of his personality, how the child interacts with his society, the village, or, the town that he or she is living in. That is the reason it is said that it takes a village to, grow up a child. So why it takes a village? Because the child will interact with the entire people and frame opinions, and the learning happens over there as well. And then, of course, the cognitive process, which happens in the school in forms of intellectual development of the child and subject matter. Now, pramanas are there. I'm going to end in another 5 to 7 minutes, maybe. So pramanas are there. What pramana is? First is how the child learns. There are these 6 ways in which the child learns. The first one is pramana, pratyaksha. So pratyaksha is direct perception, directly how the child feels, interacts with the things and what the child experiences. Anumana. Anumana, you can understand inference. Observe something and come to an inference. Upamana. Upamana is what? Upamana is comparison. You compare and learn. Then arthapatti. Arthapatti is postulation. So what is postulation? Knowing through circumstantial implication is arthapatti. And anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi is perception of non-existence. So, like, for example, the dogs did not bark in the night. So that means something. So that is arthapatti. And of course, sabda. The sabda is, as you can see over here, verbal testimonial. In some systems of knowledge, the testimony of an expert is admissible. So when an expert gives an opinion, that is sabda. Now you see, expert opinion, if we talk about, you as a teacher can be an expert. So when we're talking about you as an expert, the child is learning through sabda is only a part of the learning. What about the other parts? What about the pratyaksha? What about the anumana? What about the upamana? How about the arthapatti? How about the anupalabdhi? So you as a teacher need to be a facilitator. Shabda is when you talk. But without you talking, these are 5 other ways in which the child will learn. And the teacher becomes a facilitator in these 5 ways, right? So, preparatory stage, what are the subject combination that is recommended? Preparatory stage, languages, mathematics, art, physical education, and world around us. These are the subjects. Middle stage, science, maths, social, arts, and humanities. Secondary stage, essential courses. We'll talk about what that is. Choice-based courses and vocational education. That is art and sport also. Now you see how the board exam is going to be like. Now, many of us already know that NCF, few people started predicting there will be no board exam, which is wrong. Board exam will be there. Now we have heard, and CBSE is already published, there will be 2 board exams. So when we talk about 2 board exams, what are these 2 board exams? The first one is, Achha, ma'am, how much time do I have? So that we do not fall short of time. Because I just need to cover a few more slides. How much time do we have now?
Salam, sir, would you like to answer? Salam, sir.
Yeah, Himani ma'am, what is the question? I was on a call.
Sir was asking how much time do we have, if we can just...
Sir, you can go ahead. No problem.
Okay, right, fine. Thank you so much. So this is regarding the board exam. So I just wanted to elaborate on that. So what is board exam, how it is going to be like? Right now, they have said that 2 board exams will be there. So whether it starts this year or not, we have to see that. So the emphasis on one board exam will be diluted. But then what NCF is talking about, how it is going to be like in future, it is said that in secondary stage will be divided into 2 phases, broad curricular areas and disciplines. So secondary stage is 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th. Do not forget that. Whatever we used to call higher secondary or senior secondary is a part of secondary right now. So 9th and 10th, it will have broad curricular areas, science, social science, humanities, and so on. This will be covered in 9th and 10th. And in terms of 11th and 12th, it will be disciplines. Now, how it is going to work out in the 9th and 10th? There are going to be 2 essential courses from each curricular area for grade 10 certification. So for grade 10 certification, you can see there are these 8 domains: humanities, maths, computing, vocational education, physical education, arts education, social science, science, and interdisciplinary areas. Now, out of these 8 domains, there will be 2 courses, or I would say 2 years of learning, 2 years curriculum, I would say. So 2 courses means 2 distinct portions of learning. So one may be in 9th, one may be in 10th. So humanities, 2 papers, mathematics and computing, 2 papers, like that. 8 into 2, 16 papers need to be cleared in 9th and 10th so that the child can get the 10th certification. So how many exams? 16 exams, right? So you can see very well, this is what the NCF is talking about. 2 essential courses for each of these domains, and the domain is wide. So many subjects have been chosen so that the child gets a lot of idea about different domains. But then when it comes to, and this is something very important, I want to read it out. Student will complete 2 essential courses from each of the 8 curricular areas available. That is total 16 essential courses across 2 years of grade 9 and 10. So as I said, 8 into 2, 16 in 9th and 10th. Grades 9th and 10th will follow an annual structure. A semester structure in these classes is possible to construct, but it is unnecessary since all students will do all the essential courses. So it's very clearly mentioned in NCF that it will not be a semester pattern in 9th and 10th. Every child has to take the 16 papers. Now, student must clear 8 board examinations at the end of grade 10. 8, because 8 curricular domains were there. 16 papers, 8 in 9, 8 in 10th. So you can see that it's clearly a de-emphasis on one single board exam. How it is going to be like in 12th? In 12th, I would first show the chapters, subjects, and you can understand better. So see, these are the subject areas of 12th. So humanities is now languages, literature, philosophy. Social science can be history, geography, political science, psychology, economics. So it is broken down into more specific subject. So when in 10th, you are going for the width, and when in 11th and 12th, you're going for the depth. So depth of the subject. So to maintain the depth, what has to be done? A child has to choose 4 papers or 4 domains. So these are curricular areas of 4 domains. Out of these, the children need to choose 3 domains or 3 subjects from here. As you can see over here, this phase of secondary stage would be divided into semester, and each choice-based course would be for a semester. Student must complete 16 choice-based courses to complete grade 12. Now here again, how 16? 4 subjects into 4 papers each. Earlier it was 8 subject, 2 paper each. This time it is 4 subject, 4 papers each. So to ensure depth, when they choose a discipline, they have to complete 4 choice-based courses in that discipline. In case of vocational areas, these 4 courses should equip the student to enter the world of work in that particular vocation. So if it's a ICT or computer science or hospital management or retail, after completing the courses, the child should be ready to enter that world of job. It is about talking about making the child job ready. So the 4th set of course could be from 3 curricular areas already chosen or from completely different one. So the child has to choose from these curricular areas any 3, 4 papers for that particular subject, and the 4th one any again from any of these, and 4 papers on that. So 16 papers need to be cleared in 11th and 12th. Now comes talking about the timetable. You can see the time allocation, 9:30 to 2:30. It's a suggestive timetable. You may or may not follow till the circular is there. But in NCF, you can find the time allocation given for the periods. And you can see how the time is divided, So concept time, numeracy is 1 hour. It's not like equal time for all the periods. Some are 30 minutes periods. Some are 45 minutes. Some are 1 hour. So this is how it has to be done. Next is in the foundation stage. This is how it is. You can see at 1, lunch break, age 3 and 4 go home. So what is age 3 and 4? Nursery and LKG, they go home. After that, you see 1:45 to 3 p.m., age 4 to 6. That is UKG. In fact, grade 5 and 6 in particular. UKG and 1 is to be retained, and they get 1 hour 15 minutes more. So this is the foundation stage. Then comes the preparatory stage, 3, 4, and 5. This is how the timetable is, like 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and how the periods are divided. You can take a look, and you can see over here, L1, 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 these are languages. And you know now what is a L1 and what is R1, right? So this is how the periods are divided. Annual timetable and period allocation. You can see preparatory stage, middle stage, and even secondary stage. How many annual hours is recommended and how many annual periods are recommended for R2, how many for maths, world around us, art, and so on. So very clear-cut, a timetable has been mentioned in the NCF. You can take a look at this timetable, and then you can design your own timetables accordingly. So this is again a illustrative timetable of secondary stage, grade 9th and 10th. And you can see the subject combination over here. From L1 in the foundation stage, it has now slowly moved to R1, R2 in the middle stage and preparatory stage. The lunch break, you can see 12:05 to 1 p.m. So this may be done in cases of boarding schools or semi-residential schools. In day schools, you can alter that as well. So this is not a hard and fast guideline, but this is a suggestive guideline. Ages of admission again is state specific, but now CBSE recently conducted a survey, if you remember, a Google form was shared with all the schools, and they were asked to find out and report to CBSE. In fact, many of the master trainers were asked to do that what is the age of admission in that particular state. So age of admission, particular state, you can see over here, I've demonstrated this for Maharashtra. It is applicable for many other states. The child need to complete 3 years before 31st December. 4 years before 31st December is kindergarten, and so on. So the child needs to complete 6 years before 31st December to be in class 1. So it is assumed that the child is already 6 years old when he or she is in class 1. That is how all the curriculums are being designed. Now, we are talking about safety and security of children in different areas. Emergency drill, CCTVs, defense. So physical safety, emotional safety, safety from sexual abuse, like POXO has to be in place. This is also what NCF is talking about. So without the child feeling safe and secure, learning cannot happen. So it is a responsibility of the teacher to make the child feel safe. We are talking about 10 questions of who to identify delay. You can again take a screenshot. I don't want to elaborate on this. These are 10 questions to understand whether the child is, the development of the child is happening properly or not, right? So 1 or 2 we can read. Compared with other children, did the child have any serious delay in sitting, standing, or walking? Compared with other children, does the child have difficulty seeing either in the daytime or at night? Does the child appear to have difficulty hearing? So all these questions are questions related to development, physical development, and mental development of a child. So this has to be given to every teacher so that the teacher observes and identifies early delay. What is the pupil-student ratio? It is very clearly said that PRT, we know that very clearly that one teacher for 1.5 section, and widely understood and accepted that right pupil-teacher ratio enables individual attention. And that is one of the reasons you see OSS was frozen. We were not able to do things on OSS because the PRT, pupil-teacher ratio, has to be brought down. What CBSE recommends us, that is 40 student maximum in a class. Earlier, the term used was optimum. And we have got these schools going to 50, 45, 60 students in the class. But right now, NCF talks about pupil-teacher ratio. So now CBSE is strongly driving 40 student is maximum in a class. Within the next 3 years, it will be strictly implemented. It was implemented this year. A lot of representations were given to Sanyam sir. We from Maharashtra also moved a petition where we requested to allow for a few years, because already schools have 45 children, but they have very clearly said over the next 3 years, those schools who have already got 45, they need to bring it down to 40. So with that, we come to the end of this particular NCF, understanding of the NCF. So we have talked about, the ancient scriptures, how education is supposed to be, the koshas. We have talked about the Panchahari. We have talked about the Vacha and the herbs. We have talked about the aims of education, curricular goals, competencies, learning outcomes. We have divided the standard of the class in 4 different levels. We have talked about play being central to the learning, what type of play is used in the class. We have talked about gradual release of responsibility. We have talked about the holistic progress card. And we have talked about how teacher is going to pay attention to the overall development of the child. We have spoken about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Now I leave the session open for questions. And if you want to see a report card, I would have loved to show that as well. But let us first open the session for question. If we get some time, I'll definitely show you how I have designed my holistic progress card in the school. So it can be open for questions now, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for regaling us with boundless discourse. I'm sure our participants would like to have their queries dispelled. Participants, could you please raise your virtual hand so that you can be unmuted and you can ask your questions directly? So, in the beginning of the session, I remember there was a question that was put up. I'd like to read out for you. Which is more suitable for early years, NCF or NCFFS?
Now, when you're talking about NCFFS, what does it mean? It means National Curriculum Framework for Foundational Stage. So when we're talking about National Curriculum Framework for Foundation Stage, it is very clearly understood it is referring only to the foundation stage. So when we are dealing with the foundation stage, what is the foundation stage? Nursery, KG1, KG2, 1 and 2. So when we are dealing with these classes, NCFFS is going to be of importance. And that is the reason the first NCF that was published was NCF for foundation stage. But then later on, we published the NCF for school education. So that included NCFFS as well as for preparatory stage, for middle stage, and for secondary stage. So depending on the stage, you're going to refer to the document. So when we have secondary teachers, in my school, for example, I can tell you, I have asked the teachers of my secondary classes to see the secondary stage only. They are not reading the foundation stage because it is not applicable to them. When it's a foundation stage teacher, I have asked them to go through the pages and competencies of only the foundation stage. Right? So I hope it answers the question.
Yes, sir. Definitely makes sense. Dear participants, if you have any query, you may type your message in the chat box or you may raise your virtual hand to ask your question. So we have got one question.
Right.
This is the most sought after. Will it be implemented from next academic year, that is 2024 to 25?
Now, we are living in a country called India. So you have to understand that. So whatever is being planned, it gets implemented a bit late, And if you see alone 25,000 CBSE schools, when we try to implement something from CBSE, by the time it reached to that last few schools, it's already lot many years have already passed by. So NCF will be definitely implemented, and it has been started already. Now, what you see is, you will not see it implementing with a declaration. Now we are implementing NCF, nothing like that. It will come in form of circulars. So not circulars that keep coming from CBSE, you can very clearly understand that implementation has started. NEP has very clearly talked about that implementation timeline for NEP is for 20 years, 2020 to 2040. So in these 20 years, gradually things will be implemented, because the bridge has to be constructed. The gap is very wide. Where we are right now and where we want to go, that is not just a step away. It's a huge gap. There are schools in our country which do not have basic facilities. There are schools in the country which do not have basic teachers. So all these things have to be kept in mind. There are schools which are still, they have never heard of differentiated instruction. They have not heard of competency-based education. There are schools and teachers I've seen when I've conducted so many trainings, they're not even aware what NEP is talking about. They have heard it from some video or something like that. They have not cared to go through the document. NEP training has not happened in schools, despite CBSE taking the initiative. Many people are not aware of that. So NCF will be gradually implemented, because it's a a timeline that is the timeline or deadline is to be given. If it is given, it will be suicidal, because any big change that is to be brought about, it has to be in a gradual way. That is one philosophy of change management. If you're trying to make a big change in a core area, if you make an abrupt change, everything will be a chaos. Change management says when you make a change in a peripheral area, you can make it abruptly. But when you make a change in the core area, it has to be a very gradual and slow change. So it's like a ship, big ship. It cannot turn like a bike. So if you see the bike turning in an acrobatic way, education is like a big ship. It will take a lot of time to turn. So that time has already started. Things are getting done. A lot of things will get implemented this year. A lot will happen in the next year and in the years to come.
Yes, sir. Very well answered. We have an educator, Mr. Sinapati. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Please ask your question.
Thank you. Madam, I just would like to know that from next year, is the second language going to be something like compulsory for the 11th and 12th students, especially the students from outside India. So what is their the choice that they have? Because the students who have studied French or German or like that outside India, so will they be able to continue with their French in 11th and 12th, or will they have an option?
Yes, please continue. Please continue. Only about the foreign language you're talking about, or you're talking about also the 3-language formula till class 10th? Both you have.
I'm talking specifically about the foreign language, because I'm teaching French. So I just want to have a clarity.
So though, as I told, this NEP is focusing on Indianism. The entire NEP was written, and the objectives of NEP or the vision of NEP was written in a way where it talks about promoting Indianism in children. But then when we are making a policy, or any government is making a policy, I'm pretty sure they're going to make it very, very friendly to the users or the end users. So when we talk about the languages being made mandatory, I can, nothing has been declared as of now by CBSE. It has only been told that learning of one of the Indian languages will be made mandatory. But then how it is going to happen, brainstorming is going on based on that. And only when a circular is published, that time you come to know what exactly is going to happen. Right now, whoever is telling anything, even if I tell something, that is my assumption. Assumptions won't work. But as you can understand that when we are making a decision, if we talk about this particular room and we talk about making a decision here, when we talk about that, what will happen to the children who have come from foreign countries to study in India? Will we make them study Indian language? The question, in two ways you can understand this. If you look at a foreign country, what happens? If you see Germany, if you want to go and study in Germany, learning German becomes mandatory, isn't it? If you go study in USSR, or now it's not USSR, Russia, I would say. When you go to Russia and study, you learn Russian. So this is how India might design their policies as well, that no matter which country you are coming from, if you want to study in India, you have to understand and learn an Indian language. And this is something not new. This is already happening in other parts of the world. And if it happens in India, we should not raise a big voice. Yes, but whether they will discontinue French, that sees, we need to wait and see. But as I can understand, it's not about, a limited number of subjects that will be imposed on the children. You can take only 2 languages, nothing like that. It may because we are talking about in NEP and NCF to give wider choice to the children. So when we're talking about, when the vision itself is talking about giving a wider choice, I don't think they will narrow it down to getting less number of choice for the children. So French as a subject, I don't think it will go away. It will be there. But in addition to that, they may be asked to learn a basic level. And as you have read in CBSE documents also, there will be different levels of that language as well. Just like basic maths and standard maths, basic Sanskrit and standard Sanskrit, like that, English, Hindi, all these subjects will have different levels. So maybe a basic level has to be taught to the children who are coming from abroad.
So if I understood correctly, once these children go to 11th and 12th, so they will necessarily be taking up an Indian language?
Yes, and the thing is, whether that language is going to be assessed at the board level or not, that is not clear. Because I personally met, when I visited the NCERT program, as I was referring to, I met 3 people over there in particular. One was Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, then I met Sanyam Bharadwaj sir, and I met Biswajit Saha sir. So these 3 people, when I met with Joseph Emmanuel sir, in particular, there were 2 more principals. Along with me, Dr. George Kolancherry of Kerala, he was also there along with me. So I raised this question because in Maharashtra, Marathi was being made mandatory by the government. So I asked, will CBSE make it mandatory that Marathi has to be taken by a child in class 9th or 10th, irrespective of what the mother tongue is? So he very clearly told me that time, Joseph Emmanuel sir, that we will not make any language mandatory for any state. Now, I then asked them, what is the way out? Because Maharashtra government is telling that we have to teach the child Marathi in class 9th and 10th. He said you can do it in the school level. So if the child is choosing 2 languages, one is English, the other is the language the child wishes to choose, Hindi or Sanskrit, anything, but Marathi is mandatory. You can teach and assess the child in Marathi in the school level. And I asked, what about the report card then? Will board publish that marks in the board report card? He said, no, board will not publish that marks in the board report card, but schools can issue language report cards on their letterheads, and that will be acting as that the subject was studied, taught, and assessed in grade 9th and 10th. It may not have any impact at the board level at all. I hope that makes sense, because children who are not comfortable with the subject, we cannot compel them to study that subject at the board level, which will impact their overall percentage. So it doesn't make any sense. So even if it's a state language that is made mandatory, I'm pretty sure that board will definitely not make it mandatory at the board level. It may be at the level of the school, assessment at the school level, and that's it.
Sir, like few of my children have the question, now that they have studied 9th and 10th French, so will they have to shift to some other language, or they can continue with French in 11th and 12th?
Again, as I told you,
any other Indian language, because
again,
they have not studied,
they
have not studied the Indian language in 9th and 10th, and obviously the standard of language will be higher in when you go to 11th and 12th. So will they have an option or opportunity to continue with French, or will they have to give up and then go and learn a new Indian language which they have not done before?
No, this is I would say, any rule that is made in the world, it depends on common sense. Now, correct. What common sense says, if I have not studied, let's say, Malayalam till my class 10th, do you really expect me to study Malayalam at advanced level 11th and 12th?
Definitely not.
Any sensible human being will do that? No. Definitely. So the answer is nothing like that will come up, which will make it so difficult for a child. Yes, but you can tell me that now you have to learn Malayalam. You don't know Malayalam, you have not studied till class 10th, but now you have to learn it in the basic level, and you will be assessed in the school level. So what's the harm in that? Okay. So you even if you go to foreign countries, you pass an exam of English, right? IELTS and all these things. So that type of exams also might be there, that a native foreign person or a person with a foreign language learns that language, a specific assessment is kept, and levels of that assessment will mean something. For example, when a language is assessed, you are at a A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. These different levels are there. So the same thing will be applicable in this Indian language, that you study the subject and you will be graded based on what is your proficiency level.
That's great. Thank you, sir. I think I got all the answers to my questions. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, sir. We have another educator. Shafira H. Could you please unmute yourself? Yes.
Hi, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, actually, I'm taking a smaller class, first standard I'm taking. And
I missed
in
it.
that
Sorry,
class,
what are you taking? What are you taking?
I'm taking first standard, sir.
First, okay.
Yeah. In that class, I am using that third L3 is a Spanish. I giving some smaller words, that greeting words, pardon, and likewise I am giving there. So it is possible if we want to stay in our regional language in anything is there, sir?
See, L1, L2, L3, as I said, you have to understand the principle of that. L1 is the language the child learns at home from birth. So it is said that L1 will form the foundation of all learning, including other subjects and other languages. So when you have L1, let's say L1 is Malayalam, the child has spoken Malayalam at the home level. Now you want to introduce English, and L3 you are trying to introduce, let's say, Spanish. Now that introduction has to happen based on your Malayalam language. So when you teach the child Spanish, you have to teach the child what it means in Malayalam and how it is, what it is in Spanish. So L1, let it be a building block for other languages. So that is what is being spoken about. So it is advisable that in the foundation stage, you start with the L1, but there is no restriction that you have to limit a child within this many languages. I personally know a child who learned around 15 Indian and foreign languages by the time the child was a 6-year-old. Because the father was working in a multinational company, he told all his colleagues that you come to my home and speak in the language that you have. So some were speaking with him in Chinese, some were speaking in Malayalam, some in Tamil, some in Bengali, and the child learned every language. So the children are called linguistic geniuses. The way the child learns a language, no adult can do. So till the age of 7, children learn language effortlessly. And that is the reason you can introduce as many languages as you want in the school level. But definitely, L1 is not to be kept aside and then others being promoted. That's what the whole thing is.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, sir. We have another educator. Tejas, could you please unmute yourself?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I just wanted to know, sir, that slide of age eligibility, what you have shown, I suppose on 1st June, they should be 6 years, right?
No, it's right now, the one that I showed right now. This is what the education department has rolled out as a GR. So
that is of Maharashtra?
Maharashtra. So this was a previous one. When I made this presentation, it was the previous one that I pasted on the screen or the slide. I have forwarded the more recent one to Shweta Swapnil Moon ma'am, who contacted me, the COE head of Pune, COE Pune. So she reached out to me because when she asked the opinion about admission age to different master trainers, they were giving different answers. So she called me up that, sir, based on what you said this. So I clearly explained her this range. If we look at that date, it's July and December. Between that age, that is a range that has been given. The child should be born between that range to be in that class. It's not about the age of the child. 3 saal hua ki nahi, 4 saal hua ki nahi, not that. Whether the child has completed 3 years or 4 years, but on what date. So it has given a range of birth date that from this to this is nursery, from this to this is UKG. Now, when you do that, you will see there is an overlap. Practically, when you try to do that, if you have an overlap, you will see the child is born in a particular date. It also falls in, nursery. It will also fall in LKG. Now, here, the principal and the parent can take the call where the child can be admitted. Because based on the birth date, the child will actually fit in 2 classes. So that is the highest age range and the lowest age range. So that way you can decide. So that call can be taken by the principal and the parents.
Thank you so much, sir. We have another educator. Sheetal, could you please unmute yourself?
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for playing me. Good evening, sir. Myself, Sheetal.
Good evening. Once
or twice I interacted with you. I'm from Chandrapur district, Rajura. Sir, this
Okay.
time the class 9th when we have filled LOC, in that, as we are in Maharashtra, so 7th subject I have taken as Marathi.
Okay.
Okay, so for that subject, the board is going to provide the question paper or school has to make?
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking about the 7th subject, right? In the board level?
Means board means when they will go for
So
class
when you
10th.
have the 7th subject, right?
If
So you have chosen it as a third
Seventh
language,
as-
subject
yeah,
7, right?
yeah,
Subject
yeah,
number
yeah.
7.
Yeah,
See,
because
according
they said
to
no, sir,
what the
Maharashtra means they
CBSE
have to write
guidelines
Marathi.
talks about,
As they
right?
said
So
that
that's
in
what I'm talking
Maharashtra
about
should
right
come.
now.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah. So what I'm talking about right now is, see, the child has to study Marathi till class 9th this year, and next year it will be till class 10th, because they gradually wanted the child to go for these subjects. So 2 years ago it was till class 7, then class 8, then class 9. Next year it will be class 10th. Now you have two choices over there. The first choice is you take it for the board exam, because if you are in Maharashtra and many other states, what they do, they see whether that subject is there in the board exam or not. So in that case, if the child wants to keep that in the board exam, the child can choose that as a 7th subject, which is a third language, and it will be evaluated by the board. But if the child does not fill the form for the board exam and choose that subject, it will be conducted at the school level, and school will set the question paper. The books will be the ones that is followed in the state government, and the question paper will be designed by the school itself. So if you're choosing for the board level, board will frame. If you're choosing for the school level, school will frame.
Now, sir, this year 9th class we have registered for 7th subject. Suppose in 10th class we will not register. Is it possible, or we have to register?
Yeah, there's a rule for that, ma'am. You have to, if you're choosing a subject, you want to drop that subject, you have to write a mail to RO mentioning the reasons. There's a format for that, and you have to mention the reason for the dropping of the subject. Just like you take IT, some children drop IT of the taken in class 9, then class 10th. So you cannot just drop it like that. Even if you do, the LOC or things like that gives you the provision. You may just drop it and you can save it, it will still be saved. But the right way is you have to write a mail, give the list of the children who wants to drop the subject and the reason why, and then you drop it, so that the original office is informed about it. Without informing, you can still save it, but advisable not to do it.
The last question, sir. That our school is till class 10th. Now, according to National Education Policy, till 12th it should be there. Is it compulsory that we should have?
Nothing like that. It has not been made compulsory right now. In future, if it's going to happen or not, we are not sure right now. But right now, if you're running till class 10th, it's good enough. So secondary level, class 9th and 10th, you are running. 11th and 12th, the child can go to another school as well.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you, sir. We have another educator. Ruben, could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, I am taking for L2 for Tamil Nadu, Tamil language.
You're a bit soft. Can you be a bit loud, please? And if you come on the screen, I will be able to read your lips and understand.
Yes, sorry, sir. I am taking for L2 in Tamil Nadu. My subject is Tamil language. Next year, will possible to language 2 for 11th and 12th. Any possible, sir? Now academic and our academic is only for language 1 only in this academic year. Next academic year for L2 is available.
You're talking about L2 for 11th and 12th, right?
Yes.
Yes, so there is a possibility for that, but nothing has been declared as of now. So,
sure.
So there is a possibility for sure.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Dr. Dutta, I will quickly run through one question. Social studies and science are no longer standalone subjects as per NCF in preparatory stage. Can schools choose to continue with these subjects, especially the foreign schools, out of India schools?
So what you're talking about is science and social studies being taught as two different subjects instead of the world around us. So what is being recommended right now in NCF is in the preparatory stage and the foundation stage, the subject should be world around us, which is not differentiating science and social as two different subjects. So it is recommended, and that is to be done, because unnecessarily, if you increase the number of subjects, it's not going to help the child. Now we have got so many things to do, toy-based pedagogy, sport-based pedagogy, experiential learning, differentiated instructions. So to do that, it will always help the school if they, forget about any other logic. The first logic is, if you're overburdening your children with too many subjects, it's not going to yield good results. So world around us, or EVS, if you see, that is the reason NCERT publishes EVS till class 5. There is no social science or science separate books till class 5th of NCERT. So that is what is recommended. But again, NCF and NEP does not believe in making it too rigid. So the locality, the state, the school, the principal, they can definitely take their call. If they feel there is a need for it, you can continue to do it unless and until they stop it with a circular. But right now, it's up to you whether you want to choose two different subjects as social and science, or you want to bring down to world around us, or EVS.
Yes, thank you, sir. Salam, sir, I think we've done with the questions.
Yes, ma'am, we can wind up here.
Yes, sir. I would like to extend our gratefulness and appreciation for Dr. Dutta for broadening our horizons. I'm sure we will apply these tenets in our teaching modus operandi, and we will ensure that our young learners, they reap maximum benefit out of it. Dear participants, kindly note the link for certificate and feedback form has been already posted. You're requested to fill up the form with all the necessary details. I, Himani Bakshi, along with CBSE Bharat Sahodaya Complex, would like to thank Dr. Dutta once again for his gracious presence and an enriching experience, and for answering our queries so patiently. Also, I would like to thank Dr. Abdul Salam for his magnanimous support and guidance always. Thank you, sir, for such a great opportunity. Also, a big thank you to the technical team and Arun Mohan, sir, for a flawless execution. And most importantly, thank you to all the participants. I sincerely hope we earned the privilege of your time. Over to you, Salam, sir.
Thank you, Himani ma'am. Dr. Swarup, thank you so much. Very comprehensive, session. It's a Herculean task indeed. 900 pages in 1.5 hours. Thank you so much for the wonderful task you have done with lots of clarity. The educators have received from. I think we were a bit late to present this topic to the educators, but still it is relevant. As you said, we are in the process of implementing NCF in the country, and it will take some years as well. But we can see changes have been evident, and next year, I think 24-25, we will see major changes like semester exams, this and. So thank you so much, Swarup Dutta. We will connect again. We are pretty sure you have been conducting on your own. I often watch your YouTube also with lots of information you are coming from CBSE. You are in touch with the CBSE officials as well. So thank you so much, all the educators.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Himani ma'am, as usual, for the gracious task job you have done. Thank you, ma'am. All the educators, team BTAG, team BTAG and all educators for your patience and your enthusiasm in learning more and more. Thank you, everybody. Have a very good night. See you later. Keep connected. Thank you,
sir. Thank you,
once
Dr.
again.
Dutta. Thank you, Dr. Salam.
Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you so much.
Everybody. We'll wind up, right?